Picking up again at the candidates match in 1965 in Bled. Um, Here, Tal has the white pieces coming off a loss in game three. The match is tied up at this point, the one game piece. And Portisch here has the black pieces. And again, we see this interesting contrast in styles and an interesting struggle in who is going to control the the tone of the match. We're gonna have a positional struggle and the long endings, with queens off the board, or we're gonna have these tactical, shootouts. And what we see is the games going back and forth. Of course, with the white pieces, it's a little bit easier to dictate the game. So we saw a crushing victory in game two against the Caro-Kann defense by Tal. And here in game four, Portisch decides to switch it up, but if he plays the same type of game as closed, cramped game, he doesn't want to play anything sharp against Tal, like a Sicilian or something like that. So he played a Caro-Kann, he was crushed in that, and now he switches it up and plays a French, albeit he goes for a similar type of position. So let's get into it. D4, D5, knight C3, knight F6, bishop G5, D takes. So we have, like this Rubinstein variation of the French, if you will. Knight BD7, and again, we saw it in the Caro-Kann, but the same type of strategy where black is willing to accept the cramped position, and he tries to get a couple of sets of minor pieces traded off in the opening. This not only relieves the cramp that black will experience, but also it lessens the attacking potential of white. He's simply just getting rid of some pieces. However, the downside of that is that white gets this space. Notice he gets a nice center pawn on d4. He's going to bring the bishop, to d3 or c4, and he gets the space and gets to try to cramp black's position. And also, this usually leads to some type of kingside attack as he has more space and at the right time can leap a knight into the e5 square. All right. So here, c5, we see this early attack on the center, trying to eliminate white's pawn. Bishop c4. C takes d4. He just simply ignores the pawn, castles. Bishop e7, queen e2. Again, just continuing on as if the pawn didn't exist. h6. Bishop f4. Castle. Rook a d1. Bishop d7, and now rook d4. Queen b6. Again, Tal playing dynamically. This is his style that he's trying to impose on the game. He said, go ahead, take the pawn. Queen d2. And he's not only eyeing the bishop on d7, but the pawn on h6. So the bishop protects himself. Bishop c6. But bishop takes h6. And Tal sacrifices are interesting because they're always like on that borderline of being sound and unsound. It's very difficult to meet this stuff over the board because there's no like obvious refutation. Knight e4, right? Now let's look at the obvious. G takes h6. Queen takes h6. So now you have this threat of the rook coming over. So you can block that, right, with the bishop. But then bishop d3, rook a d8. And of course, that's the basic idea is try to trade off pieces. But now you have moves like queen g5. And now if king h8, you got this powerful move. Rook takes e4 here. And now a knight takes e4. Queen takes e7. And white is winning. And the position is very complicated. So knight e4, this idea of just trying to counterattack. Queen f4, g takes h6, and now rook takes e4. So it gets the two pieces for the exchange. And again, um, the minor pieces to me are more important in this position because there's only one open file. So black's rooks are not going to be effective, until some time goes by. And with this time, Tal has an open king. Um, he has a light squared bishop. The opponent has an opposite colored bishop, and this is very important when you're attacking because the opponent can't trade off your bishop. So when you're attacking, you have opposite colored bishops. That favors the attacker because look at the light square diagonal going from d3 to h7. Like what is black gonna do to deal with that? The only thing he could possibly do is play f5 at some point, which weakens his position, weakens himself on the dark squares. So white has definitely full compensation here. Rook a d8, b3, and now bishop c5. Queen f4. And is black lost? Of course not, but he's walking a tightrope, and this is exactly the type of position and style that Tal is trying to impose on Portisch. To play positions where he's more at home in, whereas Portisch may not want to play, this type of position. King g7, queen e5, because when you're uncomfortable in the position, you're more likely to make mistakes. f6, queen g3. So Tal makes the position murky. King h7, rook e1, and so far Portisch is defending very well. But again, he might be defending a position that he really doesn't like. Queen h4, rook d6. Now king scoots over to f1, f5, h3 keeps the rook from coming to g4, rook g6, and now Tal ramps up the pressure with this move g4. And now rook d7 is played. Now, there's a moment of truth right there. Now, queen c6 could have been played attacking that knight, right? That's just sitting there on f3 unprotected. And after g takes f5, e takes f5, queen f4, rook d f6, a4, bishop d6, queen e3. Black seems to have defended adequately in this position. It's up to white to show and prove any type of superiority in the position. Rook d7 is a little more passive, and Tal stuns his opponent with the move rook takes e6. And actually, bishop takes e6 is stronger, and I can show you the idea. And the basic idea is that this king. Oops, sorry about that. The basic idea is that the king on h7 is lined up in opposition with the queen on h4. So that means knight to g5 check is possible, creating a fork scenario. So for example, if bishop takes e6, right, which was a little bit stronger, then let's say rook takes e6, rook takes e6, and let's keep going. Queen takes, and knight g5 check, picking up the queen. That's the basic concept of this idea. And this is why white is winning. Portisch might have overlooked this. So after rook takes e6, instead of capturing on e6, because the end would be that check on g5, Portisch plays rook d1 check, king g2, rook takes e6, bishop takes e6. Again, he can't capture with the queen because knight g5. So f takes g4, queen takes g4, and the king is super exposed. And that was it. He resigned. Black's game collapsed just like that off of that. Missed that one move after g4, rook d7 was an error, and then Black's game immediately collapsed. And Tal won another short game Okay, this game was only 32 moves. The other one was that he won in game two was less than 30 moves, and with this game, Tal was able to take 2 to 1 lead. So interesting, clash of philosophy and styles here.